Okay, so this video is going to be about bottle feeding and a few of the basic concepts that I look for in choosing a bottle, some positions for the baby, and then some more advanced techniques if there's some struggles going on with the bottle. So first of all, my two favorite bottles based on nipple shape and flow rate. Both of those things are important, and every baby might have a little bit of a different need. So it just depends on the situation for which one I recommend. But my two favorites are a Dr. Brown's Narrow and an Even Flow Balance. Lancino is also a good one. I think I have one of those here, but it is slightly different than the Even Flow. This is a Lancino. You can see how there's a little bit more of a bulb out right here, and that can make a difference for some babies, but the flow rate for all three of these is really good. Especially for Dr. Brown's, you can do the preemie nipple even if you don't have a preemie, and that's very slow flow. A level 1 is in Dr. Brown's is the most common newborn nipple, and size 1, those are all kind of about the same range. Other bottles are much faster, including Komotomo, Tommy Tippy. Those are really common ones. Avent. Here is Avent, and this is older version of it, but just to look at how a baby would latch on is there's no way baby could get their mouth all the way around here, so they get just on the tip of the nipple, and that is not supportive of breastfeeding or good oral posture if the baby is only on a bottle. And here, same kind of concept. This is generally speaking kind of more like a Tommy Tippy or Komotomo, where it's like it looks like a breast, but the baby has to just get on the tip of the nipple, and there's not as much to be in the baby's mouth, much like this. Okay, you can see how the nipple is shorter for this one too. Whereas Dr. Brown's is a little bit longer. So if the baby is gaggy, then that might be an issue. But the baby can get around a narrow Dr. Brown's, the wider one too, but I prefer the narrow for a lot of reasons, especially for a newborn. This one is really good, and especially for bottle refusal, this one is really good. So when a baby gets on the bottle, you're really making sure they get to the base or as far down as possible. And it might take a little bit of time to work there within the session or over days and over weeks. And good seal around the bottle, including the sides right in here. And you're looking for, if the baby is leaking, then that is something that we need to look at why it's happening. And if the baby is clicking, if there is, it sounds like they're sucking in air. All of those things mean that we want to improve the bottle experience, because those can cause other symptoms that are not so fun. When we look at positions for the baby, a lot of you know that paced bottle feeding, like pacing the feed, the adult is the one that paces the feed, person feeding. Sometimes older siblings pace the feed too, and if they're old enough, they can do some of these things. If they're little, then you might help them do these things or just have it be for a brief moment. Most times, if there is a bottle that is given and it's not like, you know, a great bottle experience in that one setting one time, it's fine. So for the baby, when we pace the feeding, we're not going like this and just letting them guzzle. We are holding them more upright. The bottle does not have to be like this. It can be 45 degrees or even like this. When the bottle is in the baby's mouth, the milk does not need to fill the whole tip. You can have the baby suck on the bottle and bring the bottle down, and that's fine to do. They're not going to swallow too much air for that. The air goes out their nose. And sometimes instead of pacing the feed by taking it in and out, that's very disorganizing. So we keep the bottle in, unless you're going to burp the baby, or there's, other suck, swallow, breathe, or coughing or choking or gagging that happens on occasion. Then you take the bottle out. But during this process, it's okay to just like put the bottle down a little bit so that the flow rate is not as high for a few moments, and then put it up. Otherwise, if the baby is doing fine with any of these slow flow bottles, you don't necessarily have to pace it. So when you're in this position, you can't support the baby as much in as many ways because this hand is kind of tied up. So another option is to just bring your hand here. Now, of course, you're going to support the baby. Baby's in my lap. Sometimes I like put my knee up a little bit to give a little seat for the baby. Even for a brand newborn, we can do this position as long as you feel comfortable. When the baby's whole body is supported, they feel much better. Another great position, and I have videos on this, not done by me. So if you don't have these videos, let me know, but is side lying. So we can curl the baby's legs up like this and feed side lying. You can also put a boppy around you or another pillow. Sometimes you can even put the baby like this side lying, but very much like nursing in this position, the baby can eat like this, especially a newborn and older babies too. So it's a great way to pace because you could take a blanket or some kind of prop and stick it under here to support the baby, or use your leg in that way. And that way this hand can be free a little bit. That is great for if you have to do something else with your hand, grab your water, grab your phone, use your hand for some techniques that I'll show you in a little bit. And also another thing that this works great for is if you happen to be pumping and the flange is one that does stick out, you can do side lying bottle feeding while pumping, whereas while pumping and holding the baby, it's a lot harder. Make sure that the baby's lips are flanged out, so you don't want them tucked in like this. Both the bottom should be flanged out and the top. If the top does not flange out, which can be very common, when the bottle is in the baby's mouth, you can rotate it like this, or you can drop the bottle down and kind of wiggle it up. And a lot of times that helps flange out the upper lip, which is a lot easier than trying to do it like this or like this. So those are the main things for bottle feeding that we're looking at. The second part of this video is only if you are experiencing difficulties, and I've told you that these are the things that you can start focusing on. And with that, these techniques can be things that everyone can do. They're all great supports for bottle feeding babies, but a lot of times we don't need to worry about them. And then sometimes we do. So the 4 things that I look at to really improve the bottle feeding experience for some babies, if I have told you this part applies to you, is to have the baby's head be neutral. So a lot of babies, when you're doing the bottle, their head is like tilted back a little bit because they're angled back, or that's just how their head is. Okay. We don't want it that way, tilted back, extended. And then we don't want the baby's head to be tucked while they're eating either. We want the baby's head to be very neutral. So the ear and the shoulder line up and the head is neutral, not back or forward. That's number 1. And really the neutral position is usually easiest like this. If you do need the baby to finish off the end of the bottle, you can lean the baby back and keep that head neutral. Number 2 is some tug of war and some resistance. We might not be able to do that the whole feed, but maybe some of the feed might be helpful. Number 3 is cheek and chin support. So while the baby is eating, you hold the bottle like a pencil. So this is the easiest way to give resistance in this way, instead of like holding back here. But in particular, this helps you stabilize your hand on their chest. And you can use your fingers to give some, like a prop to the chin. Think of like a runner's block where you, that block is like propping the foot off before they take off for the race. It's not something that they're like leaning against so much. It's just like helping support them. So you can do that with the chin. You can do that on the bony part or on the soft part, depending on what the baby needs. And sometimes we do cheek support, which is difficult in this position because it's really hard. You can do it on the outside with this finger, but it's really hard to do it on the other side. So that's when we do side lying the most and do some chin support or cheek support. Cheek support isn't going to go in like this. It's going to go kind of forward like this. And that can help a lot of babies do the bottle better. The last thing is to isolate the lower lip from the tongue. What that means is when the baby is cupping and gripping the bottle with their tongue, and then they also have their lower lip down here, like this, okay, their lip is like holding everything in. If you pull the lip back, they have to use their tongue in a different way. It's not going to be easy for them. They have to learn how to do this. So it might be for only one suck at a time that you do this in the beginning. But when the baby's on the bottle and you kind of like fold the lip down with your finger while the baby's sucking on the bottle, use your finger right here. It's not the easiest, but with some practice, you can definitely get it done. And like bring it down so that the tongue is separated like that. So they're almost encouraged to use that tongue in a different way. Instead of the lip doing all the work, the tongue has to start doing the work. And that's part of the suck retraining process with a tongue tie release, and sometimes before tongue tie release, or regardless of any tongue tie that we do in order to teach the baby how to transfer and how to do a full wave with their tongue. So those things are a little bit more advanced if you need them.